Spirit is telling us to get smart with our money on today's Oblyron Divination. Greetings everyone, I am Oblyron, Lord of the Underworld and consort to the most lovely Hecate. Thank you for joining me on today's Elemental Synastry Reading. It is a divination technique which was gifted to me by the goddess upon our sacred marriage, and it involves the tarot, the 5 elements, and astrology. Now this is a timeless collective reading, so take what resonates and discard what doesn't. And if you do happen to resonate with today's message, then feel free to let us all know with a like, subscribe, or comment letting us know how you've resonated with today's message. So I draw a tarot card to see what is influencing each of the elements. And the first element is the element of spirit, which is represented by the bell. Okay, so what is influencing the element of spirit, love? Alright, so we have the inverted 7 of Pentacles. Okay. Now, yeah. So something is happening where we may be feeling a little bit frustrated. We may be feeling frustrated that we're not feeling or seeing the results of the efforts of our labor. We may feel frustrated that things aren't happening on the timeline that we have set up for ourselves. We want to be able to speed things up a little bit, and it almost feels like maybe we're at the point where we might want to give up, and understand that these feelings, they come and go. If this is something that we've really been working on, if this is something that we really believe in, and especially if it's something which is probably, let's say, a big project or let's say a life's milestone, well, guess what? Then, we need to have a little bit of patience with this. This card in the upright position will generally mean, having patience. It'll mean, you're basically planting your garden. You're watching your garden grow. So when it's in the inverted position, it could definitely show some sort of impatience. It could maybe mean, that we're giving up too soon, that we want to walk away too soon. And, the message of this really is, we all have to make our own decisions, but the message of this is really to just understand that sometimes things take time. Sometimes things are not going to go in order. Sometimes they're not going to proceed on the timeline that we've set up for it. Sometimes we may have to take 10 steps backwards to take 1 step forward. That's just how life goes sometimes. And it doesn't mean that we are any less a people or unworthy of our dreams or what we've been wanting. It just means that sometimes things are out of our control. Sometimes things are bigger than us. And, by beating ourselves up over the things that we have no control over, well, that's really not productive, and it's really not fair to us or even maybe to the people around us. All right, so let's see what the astrology die have to say to that. So the astrology die represents advice or a likely outcome, things of that nature. And we have Neptune in Aries in the 10th house. Okay, so I roll once for the house, and I roll a second time. I roll a second time for the decan. 10 again. All right. So we're in the 3rd decan of Aries, and in the 10th house. Okay. So this is related to our career, to our status, to our job, and that. Wow. Okay. So that 3rd decan of Aries is the Lord of Perfected Success. It is that 4 of Wands energy. And pretty much, Lord of Perfected Work, not Perfected Success. Anyways, so yeah, that's that Four of Wands energy. That is, it's basically saying that everything's going to work out. We've already put in the efforts to build our base. We already did the work. And so what's happening now, especially with Neptune right there, is it's saying that we need to sort of take a step back. We need to take a step back, maybe kind of detach ourselves from the outcome a little bit, not be so concerned with it, and be able to really view things from a different vantage point, so that we're not so caught up in the situation. A lot of times when we start to get impatient with things, it's probably because we have too much of a vested interest. It's probably because we're just so hung up on every single little thing that happens with what we're going through. But really, with Neptune there, with the Lord of Perfected Work there, especially, we have the Lord of Perfected Work in the 10th house, which is Capricorn, which is obviously our jobs and things like that. So again, Spirit is saying, look, you're already there. Don't worry about it. Don't give up. Whatever we want to see happen from the fruits of our labor, we're going to see. It may take a little bit longer. We may have to, take a different path sometimes. But whatever it is that's happening, we're going to see that. We're going to see the results of it, and we will find that success in whatever it is that we're working towards. All right, let's go to the next element. It is the element of fire, which is represented by the wand. Now, fire represents our drives, ambitions, and desires. Again, the wand is a very focused energy. It allows us to direct our efforts and to channel our energies into creating what we want. So I'm interested to see how element of fire will... Oh, man. All right, so we got the inverted Nine of Pentacles. Oh, man, is this going to be another one of those... I don't know, crazy negative readings, but then there's like light at the end of the tunnel with one element or something. Anyways, yeah, I guess we can't have it too easy. Okay, so... Wow. So this is probably the result of... It could have been cutting some corners. Whatever it is that we are working on, or whatever... This could even be, let's say, an external influence. But whatever it is, something happened to where we feel like maybe what we have already acquired isn't quite the highest and best way that we acquired it. We could even be feeling a little bit of guilt, or we could even be tempted by also cutting corners too. We're starting to get impatient with our goals, and now we're looking to maybe, probably looking to take a little bit of the easy way out. And not judging here, it's just, it happens to all of us, when there's only so much we can fall on the ground and skin up our knees before we start thinking, man, when's it going to be my turn? How do I get to where I want to be sooner? And so that's what's starting to happen a little bit. Our drives, ambitions, desires, probably our ambitions, since it has to relate to the 10th house, probably our ambitions. Again, we may be tempted to not act in accordance with our highest and best. And yeah, it should really serve as sort of a warning, because again, Spirit is saying, especially with Neptune influencing the Spirit, it's saying to take a step back. Don't be so involved. Don't be so, invested in what's happening. Take a step back. And by not being able to take a step back, we're kind of being tempted into cutting corners. We're kind of being tempted into doing those things which we may not normally do under regular circumstances. So yeah, let's see what the astrology die have to say to that. Okay, so we have the moon in Capricorn in the 3rd house. All right, interesting that the moon is there, because it's pretty much saying, all right, go into your deep emotions. All right, so we are in the 3rd decan of Capricorn. A lot of 3rd decan right now. A lot of 3s. Okay, so that 3rd decan of Capricorn is the Lord of earthly power. That's the 4 of Pentacles energy. That's when we start to become weighed down by the burdens of our, well, it's normally the burdens of our own success, the burdens of our job, basically the Saturnian aspects of our lives, the day-to-day aspects of our lives. We may have accrued a lot, but at what cost? And so yeah, this looks like it's very interesting, because we have this 3rd house influence here. So, and also with the moon influence there. Yeah, so we're looking at something to where we really need to look within and to really sort of understand what it is that we're burdened by, and really understand also how to communicate that a little bit better. What is happening in our lives that we feel so unsettled and so impatient with whatever it is that we got to do? What is happening there? And it's telling us to really sort of look within, and again, look to what we already have too. Because if we're already burdened by what we have, and then, we want more, well, isn't that just going to make the burden even more? And especially when we are getting to the point to where, we think of probably not even acting in accordance with our highest and best to get more. So it's almost like that burden of wanting success, or I should say the wanting success is the burden here. It's that craving for power, for success, for status. It's all these things. And so the moon there is really telling us to go inside and ask what it is that we really want, what it is that we really desire, so that we can be more focused and act in accordance with what our highest and best is. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to go on to the next element for that. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Let's see what else we have. So the next element is the element of air, which is represented by the sword. The sword, or I should say the element of air, represents our communications, our thoughts. And let's see, what is influencing the element of air, love? Sometimes, also, I've had some viewers talk about how, with these different elements, people also relate it to their signs. So, if you're a fire sign for that wand, maybe that might resonate for you a little bit more. If you're an air sign, maybe you might resonate with the air reading a little bit more. That's another interpretation of it. Okay, so what we have here is the hangman again. So Neptune represents the hangman in tarot. So here we have Neptune and the hangman coming out. So definitely there's a huge need for taking a step back, for detaching from what we are doing right now, and to really think it through. This is the element of air. So we need to retreat to our thoughts a little bit more. We need to retreat to our studies a little bit more, and to really analyze those, and to take a step back. Again, to view things from a different perspective, to expand our mind, to open it up to where we begin to understand the nature of what's happening in spirit and in the element of fire. Again, why do we feel the need to latch on to this success or this power or the money or whatever it is? Why do we feel so strong of a need that again we feel unsatisfied, we feel like we need to cut corners? Those are some very reflective questions to ask. Very deep and reflective questions to ask. Okay, so let's see what the astrology die have to say to that. And we have Jupiter in Capricorn in the 4th house. Well, we got a lot of Capricornian energy. It came up in every single element so far. Okay, so let's re-roll for the decan. All right, last decan again. And another 3rd decan Capricorn. Okay. All right, so, excuse me. Yeah, we have... So one good thing about this is we have Jupiter in Cancer, and yeah, that's Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, so we have that benefactor coming in and really helping us out to really be able to grow into what we need to be and how we need to see this. So that Jupiter energy, yeah. It's interesting because Lord of Earthly Power came up in all of these, and we have I'm sorry, it came up right here in these two. So with our drives and ambitions, the moon is telling us to go within. And when it comes to the element of air, Jupiter is telling us to expand outwards. When it comes to that earthly power theme, when it comes to that whole, when it comes to the element of fire, and when it comes to us looking into our issues. Now, what I think is interesting about this is that we have the earthly power, but it's in the 4th house. Okay, so this to me, it's sort of suggesting that the wealth that we have is already in the home life. The wealth that we have, it is through our home life, and it is through the family that we begin to expand. And yeah, so I think it's also interesting, we have Gemini with the air sign right there, and then we also have the air right next to it, or the element of air too, sort of kind of all being, mixed and mashed and sort of twisted into this sort of amalgam of our situation. So yeah, we have, it's pretty much saying, look, take a step back, look at what we have in the home, look at the riches that we have in the home, and use that knowledge and basically act in accordance with expanding the wealth there. Another way that I could also see this happening is because of wanting to expand in the familial sense, that could also be driving the factor of wanting to cut corners. Maybe the whole reason why we want to cut corners or why we need money so bad is because something happened at home, or something, that there was a medical emergency or something like that, and now we're kind of like, how am I going to do this? What's happening? Everything's kind of, debt piles up, all this kind of stuff happens. So again, yeah, with Neptune in there, it's saying, whoa, whatever's happening, however we might be driven to desperation, again, take a step back. Neptune's really trying to come in and make a statement here, and it seems to be rather true, because we're kind of a bit at at an impasse where we feel like we need to do more, but maybe we can't do more. Maybe we're doing everything that we can right now, and it's just how life is unfolding. All right, so let's go on to the next element. It is the element of earth, which is represented by the pentacle. Pentacle can represent our spiritual and material wealth, represents the ground we stand on, our routines, all those types of things. All right, love, what is influencing the element of earth? Okay. The Queen of Wands. So, when it comes to, let's say, our finances, when it comes to our health, that's another thing Pentacles could represent. Our health, finances, when it comes to our life, our material life, we're actually kind of glowing. You know, the Queen of Wands is very, very radiant. She is very stunning. And again, this doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It's just the energy between masculine and feminine energies, which in the spiritual world are genderless. So we may be feeling rather good within ourselves. We may be feeling that, at least when it comes to the ground that we're walking on, we have this very sort of we are very confident in how we feel about that. And yeah, it could really be, I'm starting to see how this is all tying in together, because you know, we have so much going for us. We have the Lord of earthly power on both of these, which also, is also about, having money and having the resources, almost to the point so much where you begin to become burdened by it. So we have all this abundance, and we're kind of feeling, we are glowing because of it. So again, it brings back to the question. It's like, well, if we have health, if we have money, if we have all this stuff, then why is it that we are feeling the need to cut corners? Why is it that we feel like giving up on what we're doing? All this kind of stuff. So let's see what the astrology die have to say to that. Oh, one seemed to have gotten, there we go, left in the bag. All right. So we have the sun in Aquarius in the 11th house. Wow. Okay, superstar energy. Aquarius in the 11th house, which is ruled by Aquarius. All right, so we're in the first decan of Aquarius. The sun in the first decan of Aquarius. Let's line this up. All right, yeah, okay. So that first decan of Aquarius is that Five of Swords energy. And yeah, that's a Lord of Defeat. So pretty much there's a couple of things. It could be either sort of being a sore loser. It can even be a sore winner too. Wow, this is really interesting. It's like, yeah, okay, this is kind of tied in with this too. Okay, so going back to this inverted Nine of Pentacles, where we feel like maybe we have ill-gotten success. That's another thing that it can represent. And I think it's interesting that we also have the Lord of Defeat there. So if we have ill-gotten success with that Lord of Defeat, chances are, we were the ones who were the sore winner. Maybe something happened to where we kind of flaunted our success and our victory or whatever, and that sort of led to a cascading effect to where, now we kind of feel maybe a bit guilty of it. Maybe we feel like we need to, I wouldn't say make amends or anything like that, but it's just kind of like a splinter in the mind, and it feels like it's creating a lot of strife in the rest of it. Even as I'm trying to do this reading, the energy that I'm getting is very, it's very sort of chaotic. It's like, yes, I have this, but then, I'm impatient with this, but then I want to give up, but then I want to cut corners, whatever's happening here. And you know what? This energy could even be someone in our life. It cannot even be us. So, however this resonates, I mean, take this how this resonates. But yeah, there's just so much sort of chaotic energy between all this. It's like it's like I'm getting like something is popping up here, another thing is popping up here. I'm not even saying everything that I'm sort of going through. It's just like everything is sort of screaming at me at once, and I'm trying to kind of wade through this and sort of sort through it. But yeah, it's I'm trying to piece it together as best as I can. But yeah, it's a bit of a cluster right now. Okay, so like I said, the Sun with the Queen of Wands, there's just a lot of energy there where we feel good about ourselves. Maybe a little too good of ourselves. Maybe we feel a little bit overconfident, or maybe, if we don't relate to this, but maybe it relates to someone else. Maybe we're around someone who's too confident. Maybe we are around someone who's narcissistic or something. But yeah, if we resonate, or if this resonates for us, then yeah, it's definitely causing a lot of sort of inner turmoil and strife. All right, let's go on to the last element. It is the element of water, which is represented by the cup, and it represents our emotions, our intuitions, our psychic abilities. So let's see, what is influencing the element of water? Okay, there we go. The inverted King of Pentacles. Wow, this is a rough reading, man. This is okay. Yeah, well, that makes sense too. Okay. So, emotionally, we may feel like we're in over our heads with our situation. You know what? This could even be like let's say someone could have come into a lot of money recently through, like, let's say maybe gambling or the lottery or something like that. Because when you have the inverted King of Pentacles, it generally sort of signifies like a lack of a business sense, a lack of a organization in financial matters and things like that. Which is interesting, because the rest of this, it shows that we have all this abundance and we have all these things going for us, but we're still so dissatisfied with things. And that actually makes a lot of sense, is, coming into a lot of money really quick. Maybe this money was inherited. I don't know. But whatever's happening, on an emotional level, a deep emotional level, we may feel like we are in over our heads with the finances that have come to us. And that could create a lot of strife in our elements. That could be the whole reason why we feel like this is ill-gotten success. That could be the whole reason why we may be losing our patience too. Why we may feel like taking a new course or giving up on something. Maybe we are starting to feel the weight of the money that we have, because a lot of times when people get a lot of money and they're not ready for it, it does become burdensome. Money is a skill. Money is a skill just like anything else. We have a tendency to think, it's just spending money or whatever it is, but it's really not that. If you have $1 million, if you have $2 million, X amount of whatever dollars, what is the plan for it? What are you going to do with it? Is it invested? Is it, how much goes in the savings? How much do you want to, give to others types of things. There's a lot of education that goes into being able to really manage our money well. And obviously with the inverted King of Pentacles, we feel on an emotional level that we don't quite know how to manage that as good as we can. We just need to educate ourselves on it. So again, yeah, deep down we feel like we may be in over our heads. Let me roll the astrology die and put these over here. Okay. So, oh, I did roll it. No, wait a minute. No, let me roll the astrology die. That was weird. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, so we have Venus in Leo in the 8th house. Okay. Venus, Leo, 8th house. And let's re-roll for the decan. All right. So we're in that third decan of Leo, and that is that Seven of Wands energy. That is the Lord of Valor. And, basically, it's the one where we're kind of holding our ground. It's the one where, the Lord of Valor. We're holding our ground. We're standing strong. And so we have Venus influencing that. Wow, and then of course it's also in the house of Scorpio. Okay. So yeah. What we have, what it seems to be suggesting here is that we're going through a huge transformation where we need to find ourselves, or I should say we need to center ourselves. And all of this is taking us through a transformation which is really causing us to see who we are at our deepest, darkest base levels. And with Venus also being the influencing planet in that, it's kind of adding a little bit of a softer buffer. The Venusian energy is basically saying, okay, take it in stride, be able to appreciate the process and appreciate the beauty in the process of this transformation. Don't beat yourself up about it. Be kind to yourself about it. This is a lot of change. Scorpio energy is very demanding. It's very dramatic. It's very powerful when we go through it too. And, we could be learning a lot of things about ourselves, especially if we feel like we don't, especially if we feel in over our heads about the finances. It could just feel so overwhelming. And Venus is basically saying, okay, well, take everything in stride. Be able to just go with it. Be able to forgive yourself for whatever happened. Okay. Another thing that I'm getting from this too is especially if this is a lottery winner or an inheritance that was received, a lot of times people come out of the woodwork because they want your money. And so, we could be feeling a lot of guilt. Maybe we couldn't help out family the way that we wanted, or we couldn't help out friends the way that we wanted because, at some point we're just going to end up broke if we're always giving our money away. And so, Venus is there again saying, yes, these are times which are really changing us, but it's helping us to grow. Take it in stride. Forgive yourself. We can't be everything to everyone. And again, it's time to just focus on ourselves. Go back to that Queen of Wands energy. Really embrace that. Especially in the Pentacles, feel your best, look your best, go out into the world with confidence, and pick up the pieces and figure it out as we go along. No one is perfect. We're all figuring it out, and we all need to be a little bit nicer to ourselves. So any moment of transformation, any moment of these tumultuous experiences that we're having, again, take it with patience and take it with stride. And try not to feel so overwhelmed about a lot of things. Okay, let's look for the aspects now. So right off the bat, I'm seeing an opposition between spirit and air. And it doesn't always mean that it's conflicting. Sometimes opposites attract. And with Neptune being the influencing planet, and with the Hangman also representing Neptune, this makes sense that it's an opposition where its opposites attract. We have on one hand a lot of the impatience here, wanting things now, wanting the situation to work itself out now, and so we either want to just give up or just walk away from it. And again, Neptune is very strong in this. It's telling us to be patient. It's telling us to take a step back and to be detached from things. And sometimes that's the only thing we can do. Not be too hasty about things, but be able to really just have the time to figure things out. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? We have a sextile formed between these two, between air and fire. So, and that's also interesting too, because both of these in the astrology die have the Lord of Earthly Power has the Four of Pentacles for both of those. So it's interesting that those energies are also sextiled. And this feeling of ill-gotten gains or wealth or whatever, that's another thing that needs to just be suspended. Again, take a step back, take a look at what's happening and be detached, and then these two will sort of fix each other as well, because they're in synergy. They're sextiled with one another. So in astrology, those energies, that they work, I guess you could say, in symbiosis. They complement each other more. So by analyzing these two things, air and fire, we could look a little bit more at how those energies intertwine, how they mix, and how they affect us. Let's see what else we got. We have a conjunction. Let's see. Yeah, we have a conjunction right here. Let's see, 10, 11, 12. Actually, it's one off from a conjunction. My bad. It's almost a conjunction. Let's see. And we have a trine. Okay. Let's see, 30, 60. Yeah, we got a trine right. No, we don't have a trine. We have let's see. No, we have another sextile. Okay. So, between water and spirit. Okay. Yeah, that's another interesting one too. So what we have here is pretty much we are impatient because emotionally we feel in over our heads, and that's what's sort of driving this sort of insecurity. And it's really about looking into those issues. With every reading, I always try and find a way in which to sort of have the light at the end of the tunnel, a way in which to kind of pull us to the next energetic level that we have to be. And really, by analyzing these two together, it's really it really helps out, because on an emotional level, we may feel like we're in over our heads, and that can be cascading into the effects of spirit. And so, in being able to look into our emotions, we'll be able to also look at what spirit is trying to tell us as well. So again, it all starts with the emotions for this. This is really what it is on our deep level, how we feel emotionally. If we can clear those emotions and really work those out, then again, it'll clear up the impatience in spirit, and it'll cascade to the other elements and really kind of teach us, the lessons that we need to learn to be able to manage all these pentacles a little bit better. Man, pretty much everywhere in this reading we have some type of pentacle somewhere. So yeah, this is definitely a money reading. This is definitely a reading about our finances and being able to learn and to be able to grow our finances. So a lot of this stuff, especially when it goes back to this emotional level, a lot of it relates to just education about money. It seems like what it really is. That's the root cause of everything. Whatever our problems are, is because, again, we just need to educate ourselves a little bit more on that. Maybe we need to educate ourselves on our spending habits. Maybe we need to educate ourselves in investing, in saving. Maybe we need to educate ourselves on what we really want. It doesn't matter how much money you have at times. If your wants outweigh your ability to earn, or they outweigh the size of your the size of your bank account, well, guess what? You're still going to have $0 at the end of the day. And again, it doesn't matter if you make minimum wage or if you make, 7 figures. Our wants and desires can easily put us into the poorhouse if we let them. So, excellent. Again, it's not one of those readings that are all light and fluffy and it says, hey, you'll have all this abundance and energy. This is a reading about really looking into ourselves. Pentacles, another thing about Pentacle is whenever we have them, Saturn's usually around too. Saturn's like sort of the ultimate pentacle master, I guess you could say. So, a lot of that Saturnian energy, the energy that revolves around discipline and the energy that revolves around organization, these are all things that we need to learn. This is a very Saturnian reading. This is a lesson about a lot of discipline, having discipline and educating ourselves and going back to the drawing board. And sometimes in life, we just got to do that. Sometimes in life, we just got to do the things we don't want to do, face the things that we don't want to face. But guess what? When we do face them, even when it's in the financial area, we will find that we will feel so much better afterwards, when we educate ourselves and how the world works and compounding interest. All right, so I'm going to take it over to the extended from here. If you're interested, then head on over to the Discord, and I'll assign you a role so you can check out all the extended readings. And let's see. Again, thank you for joining. Thank you for participating in this Elemental Synastry reading. I hope it helps out. And also, if it does resonate, feel free to leave a comment. Let us all know how this resonated with you. Okay, so thanks again, and may Hecate illuminate your path and guide you at the crossroads.